Hey, my email's always open to you. As we were talking about what's going on at the border, Rich sent me an email, and he said, puzzling how when someone is killed due to gun violence, the president wants to outlaw guns. Yet when illegals commit crimes and kill people in America, they won't outlaw illegals and close our border, he said. So our hands are tied to let this clown ruin our country. I understand the frustration, Rich. Share it. You can drop me an email anytime. My email's always open to you. You want to send me a thought, greg.belfridge@kelo.com is my email address. greg.belfridge@kelo.com.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that.
News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
Well, the House yesterday approved a short-term funding bill to avert a partial government shutdown this weekend. So the legislation cleared the upper chamber pretty handily. So they sent it on to the Senate one day before today's funding deadline. So the House yesterday approving that. The U.S. Supreme Court, as you know, on Wednesday decided to take up Donald Trump's presidential immunity appeal. That's a story still trending this morning. Big story yesterday. We talked about it. Also, who will replace Senator Mitch McConnell as Republican leader? That story is still trending. Number of names, including South Dakota Senator John Thune, that are being kicked around. Also, a federal judge yesterday blocked a new Texas law that gives their police powers then to arrest migrants suspected of illegally entering the country. And so this was an injunction that was granted, pauses a law that was set to take effect March 5, and comes as the president and Donald Trump were both visiting the Texas border to take a look at immigration and respond to it. And so federal judge yesterday blocking the new Texas law. And this is the one that gives police broad powers then to arrest those who illegally come into the country. Also, the Biden administration is considering a short-term measure to send U.S. military arms and ammunition to Ukraine. Even though it's possible that the Congress would not replace these, but they could move forward, do it anything. Democratic Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island said it's something I know that's on the table. Also, you remember Jack Teixeira? He's that suspect in that leaked the Pentagon, those classified documents. He shared hundreds of classified documents sent on social media. He is expected to plead guilty coming up this Monday. So he's been charged with 6 counts of willful retention of defense records for allegedly sharing classified documents through Discord. That fire in Texas, in the Texas Panhandle, is just been devastating. It's prompted evacuations, power outages, temporarily shut down a nuclear weapons facility. So it's being called the Smokehouse Creek Fire. It's burned over 500,000 acres since it started on Monday. Makes it the second largest wildfire on record in Texas. And the CNN reported that the flames have spread at an average rate of 150 football fields per minute. That's how fast it's growing. Wow. Representative Mark Green, the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, who had said he would not be seeking another term in the House, he's changed his mind. He's reversing that decision to retire. He announced 2 weeks ago that he would be stepping down from office. Green said he changed his mind after having countless conversations with his colleagues, his constituents, as well as Donald Trump. And Trump was encouraging him to stay. So he said, I was reminded of the words of General MacArthur on a statue at West Point, duty, honor, country. I realized once again, I had a duty to my country to fulfill. So he said, I will be running for re-election so I can be here on day one next year till President Trump end this border crisis once and for all, he said. So he is running for re-election. Also, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on the hot seat. He got there was a lot of criticism from both parties yesterday for his failure then to notify the president and other U.S. leaders about his hospital stay last month. So he took a lot of heat. Austin, though, insisted that no gaps in control of the department. He said at all times, either I or my deputy secretary were in a position to conduct the duties of my office, he said. And again, Democrats were upset. Representative Slotkin of Michigan. She said Austin has admitted making an error. He's apologized and taken action to prevent it from happening again. And she then said she urged her colleagues to focus in on the things that are actually important in national security, such as threats from Russia and China. But it got heated at times yesterday. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill yesterday that would authorize the release of certain documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. And DeSantis said there needs to be a mechanism in some of these rare circumstances where people can get the truth, he said. So he signed a bill that had been passed by the Florida legislature, and it will amend then Florida statute to give courts discretion to authorize disclosure of grand jury testimony in some cases where there has to be a compelling public interest to do so. Caitlin Clark of the Iowa Hawkeyes announced yesterday she will enter the WNBA draft when her collegiate basketball career comes to an end. Clark is one of the most prolific women's basketball players of all time. She had just recently set a record. She had scored 33 points to lead the Hawkeyes past Minnesota, and it pushed her past Lynette Woodard on the all-time list. So she's had a couple of stories here with Caitlin Clark that are trending this morning. So she's announced that she will enter this year's WNBA draft. Chrysler is recalling more than 300,000 Jeep Grand Cherokees, and they're saying it's got faulty steering wheels. So the recall impacts the Jeep Grand Cherokee and Jeep Grand Cherokee L vehicles that were made between 2021 and 2023. So if you've got a Jeep Grand Cherokee made in those years, 2021 to 2023, Chrysler said they'll replace the upper arm pinch bolts free of charge, but you've got to let them know. Representative Thomas Susie of New York was sworn into the House this week. That story's trending still this morning. Also, some students at UC Berkeley saying they're fearing for their safety after an event organized by Jewish student groups was shut down by pro-Palestinian demonstrators on Monday. This is at UC Berkeley. Now, some local leaders in the Jewish community are calling on the university to do more when it comes to keeping Jewish students safe, especially on campus. One of the organizers said it was the culmination of the anti-Semitism that she's seen on campus since the October 7 attacks, and she also believes it's creating a culture of intimidation toward Jewish students. Russian President Vladimir Putin promised yesterday to fulfill Moscow's goals in Ukraine. And Putin warning the West against any deeper involvement in the fighting in Ukraine, saying that such a move is fraught with the risk of global nuclear conflict. Also, a designated hitter for the Los Angeles Dodgers. And Shohei Ohtani. Forgive me if I mispronounced that name. But he announced yesterday on Instagram that he's married. And he said, the season is approaching, but I would like to announce to everyone that I've gotten married. He made no mention of who he married or when he got married. He just said she's a Japanese woman. And then he asked for some privacy. But he said, I began a new chapter in my career with the Dodgers, but I also have started a new life with someone from my native country of Japan who is very special to me. U.S. Army says they'll be slashing the size of its force by about 24,000. That's about a 5% cut. The Army is saying they want to restructure to be able to better fight the next major war. So, as you know, the service has really struggled. Recruiting shortfalls have been a big issue for our armed forces here for a number of years. See those numbers falling. And these cuts, they say, the Army is saying, will mainly be in posts that are empty already. They haven't been able to fill those positions. They've been empty, so they're just eliminating them. Google this week was slapped with a $2.3 billion lawsuit by some other, I think, a number of publishers. Like over 30 publishers who slapped Google with this lawsuit, and they say that they have suffered heavy losses due to Google's practices in digital advertising. So this included publishers in a number of countries, throughout a number of different countries, Austria, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, Hungary, and it goes on. Comes as Europe's antitrust regulators are cracking down on Google's ad tech business. So they're also facing a landmark case in the United States claiming that they hold the monopoly over search. So one of the companies, Axel Springer, it's the parent company of Business Insider, and these smaller publishers, they account for 55 brands in all that are named in the that filed the complaint. And They say these media companies have incurred heavy losses due to a less competitive market, which is a direct result of Google's misconduct, they say. And then finally this morning, Kat Janis is a singer, and you may remember her. She had dedicated her last song to her son, who had dedicating her song to her young son. She passed away recently, and that story has been trending here for days. She was only 31 years old. So her family announced her death in an Instagram post, sharing that she was surrounded by her family when she died. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery.